everybody, and welcome to the Finnegan Farm Homestead. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about planting by the signs. So this is kind of an interesting take on gardening, and something that I do try to follow as best I can. As we get into it, you'll understand what I mean as best I can. Did actually plant by the signs. I think pretty much everything we put in the garden last year we did at the right time. And I quote right time because again, it has to do with where the moon's at and the different things. And I'll explain a little bit about that as we go on. But we had pretty good luck last year. Did we have better luck than what we would have done if we hadn't planted by the signs? I don't know. But planting by the signs goes back, ages and ages and ages. Some of the folks in Southern Appalachia still to this day swear by it, and it's been kind of an interesting thing. Again, I'm not necessarily for or against it, but I do try to plant during the right signs whenever I can. So, get into it real briefly. The basics of it is basically, and there is some, pseudoscience behind this, that if you plant at the right time, when the moon's in the right phases and things, that you're going to get a result of a larger, tastier harvest, right? The science, again, quotes, behind it is that, the moon's gravitational pull, depending on where it's at in its phase, is going to bring more moisture into the soil, giving your seeds a better chance to germinate, to grow better, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the thoughts behind it, okay? So there's a few things. So depending on where the moon is at, whether it is coming off of a new moon, coming off of a full moon, they call it the dark side of the moon, the light side of the moon, your planting is better, right? And then depending on where the moon is at in the zodiac, there are better days than not for planting your seeds and stuff. So just a couple of reference guides. I've had this Foxfire book forever and ever, and there's a whole chapter in here devoted to planting by the signs. So if you can get a hold of an old Foxfire book, through the library or whatever, it's kind of an interesting read. And the gist of it is, depending on where the moon is at in the zodiac signs, again, there's better days than not for planting, right? And then each one of these signs has a connection to the body. So for instance, when the moon is in Ram, which is Aries, that coincides to the head of the body. And that makes for better planting of certain things. So if we look at this, for instance, the first sign is Aries in the head. It's known as a fiery sign. It's hot, dry, and barren. So you wouldn't want to plant during Aries, when the moon is in Aries. All crops, root crops, crops that bear above the ground. Oh, not even one, sorry about that. This is not good for transplanting or planting. It actually favors welding, getting your hair waved. Cooking's good, making preserves is good during Aries. Pickles, jelly, destroying weeds, bushes, good for hunting, but not good for planting, right? So again, get yourself a hold of a Foxfire book if you can find one. It's got some interesting stuff in it. But the bigger reference, or the more common reference that you guys are going to see, are farmers' almanacs. And every farmer's almanac has the calendars in them. And every one of these calendars will tell you what sign the moon is in on any given day of the month. The best part about the almanac is, at least this one happens to be a Harris Farmer's Almanac 2020. I got the 2021 here in front of me, but I do have the 2022. But there's a whole page, and it tells you exactly the right dates to do whatever you need to do. So in 2020, in February 2020, planting above ground crops would have been good on the 1st through the 3rd. the 6th, the 7th, the 24th, the 25th, and the 29th. And that little bit is much easier than trying to remember all of the other stuff that goes along with this. But I'll explain a little bit about what happens. So as the moon goes through, it's a circle around the earth, goes from, new moon to the full moon. And in general, the best time to plant is during this time between the new moon to the full moon. So they call that the light of the moon, right? The light's coming up as the moon gets fuller and fuller. Thinking again, as the tides are highest at the time of the new and the full moon, and as the moon pulls the tides in the ocean, it also pulls the water up in the earth. The increasing moonlight creates balanced root and leaf growth. So again, that's kind of the thoughts behind all this, right? So as the moon goes around, the moon also passes through all 12 signs of the zodiac. Each one of the zodiac signs, as I said, is associated with different body parts, but it's also associated with one of 4 elements. It's either going to be fire, wind, earth, and water. Did I say 4 of them? So planting is best done in the signs of Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, or Cancer. If you're going to do planting, you want to do it on light of the moon for the stuff that's above ground, hopefully in the signs of Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, or Cancer, if that makes any sense. And there's different planting dates for whether or not you're looking for production of vegetables or you want flowering, right? So you don't want your vegetables to be all flowers, you want them to produce, but you want your flowers to be flowers, so there's better dates to plant for flowers versus, the actual growing of the vegetables. So again, I don't know, pseudoscience behind it, sure. The old folks believe in this very strongly. They want to plan on certain days. If you're interested in it though, do a little research. There's a ton of information out on the internet. Again, Foxfire Book's a great place to start if you want to look at how the old folks in Appalachia did it. And then really if you want just a Cliff Notes version of it, get yourself a Farmer's Almanac. It'll tell you the exact dates you want to plant for everything that you're going to be doing in the garden this year. And if everything works out great, you got good vegetables, strong plants, make everything